it's in the nature of a human being to love nature. We are a part of nature. Nature sustains us. How could we possibly hate nature? But there are people living today who are the proxies and agents of the archons. They hate nature. They hate everything that is natural, including the natural instincts of the human animal. Mm-hmm. And so this biophobia can be traced back to its root. And that's what I do in Not in His Image in the first 5 chapters, 6. And I refer to what is called the cult of the Tzaddikim. And the Tzaddikim was a sect which survives today that grew within the genre of Judaic religion, comes out of Judaism. And that sect established in the world an ideology of a biophobic drive. And it is actually not human. It is something non-human working through the human being, human animal. And you see this biotropic.
Say if you use a GPS all the time, after a while you forget how to navigate yourself. And there's something very deceptive with this sort of book of rules, and you need these commandments and stuff in order to be a decent human being.
Completely. They want to turn human beings into remote controlled zombies. And that is what a handheld device is. Granted, we use these handheld devices because they're here and we can use them for certain practical purposes, okay? I always let my friends know by text about I got on the plane or whatever. Fine. I used to fly, and millions of people used to fly without doing that, and they got there just fine. But they want us to believe that we cannot live without dependence on these handheld devices and on the totality of IT, AI, IT. And if we do so, if we fall into that trap, we won't be able to find our way across the fucking room anymore. I mean, look at what Zuckerberg is proposing. Meta.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you don't have to go visit your friends in Costa Rica or down the street. Right. You can put on a virtual reality mask and you can visit them virtually. This is what they want. They want us to live in the virtual. And if we live in the virtual, if we choose to stay in that trap, then we will be nothing but remote controlled zombies. And this is the end game of the archons. And no one in any teaching of antiquity ever warned us about this as clearly as the Gnostics did.
Nothing archon, how can they create? Can you explain that?
Well, porn is a great subject, and I don't talk about it often, but I appreciate you bringing it up. I would say this about porn, and believe me, I do not promote or endorse porn. Believe me, I don't. But there's a massive amount of porn on the internet. And if you made a pie chart, and if you just took one sliver, one thread of that pie chart, it would be the pornographic films that simply show people having sex. And there are such films. Not cruelly, not brutally, not in a perverted way, but just performing the normal activities of sex, right? So why is there only one thread of pornography that shows that, a film of people having ordinary sex? Mm-hmm. And why is all of the rest of the pie chart filled with pollution, perversity, sadomasochism, child pornography? Why? Mm-hmm. It again goes to the biophobic element. The people in the porn industry, we know who you are, have the intention to take, again, that natural sexual instinct of bonding and beauty and pervert it and distort it and corrupt it because they hate it. They are evil in their hatred of it. And so everything that they see that is natural and beautiful in the human animal, such as the sexual act actually is, mm-hmm. Yeah. You see, in its basic innocence.
Mm.
They hate that. And so they surround it and deluge it and immerse it in perversity and sadism, because that is their mindset. Porn, by the way, is not the right, and I described it as clearly as I could. I was very faithful to the source materials, and I thought to myself, what the hell? No one is ever going to believe anything like this could happen. How could a species, which is an insectoid species, which is what the archons are, they're like locusts. How could it just come out of nowhere? You know? Well, I think it was about 4 years after I wrote that chapter of the myth that I came across on the internet the document of what is called the abiogenesis of the Arcari insects. And you can actually find that in a search machine. So it so happened that in the 1800s, an amateur British scientist performed an experiment. And this is in the record. It is in the records of the Royal Society of Science in England. And what he did was he got a plate, like a flat metallic plate, and he subjected it to a certain magnetic field. And as an electromagnetic field, and there were tensions in the electromagnetic field like this, playing on the plate. And what happened, I kid you not, and I am not making this up, was that mites, tiny microscopic insects, appeared spontaneously in that field. And so there is scientific proof that the impact of an electromagnetic force can produce a spontaneous generation of mites. The archons are like mites, they're like lice, they're like, as I say, insects. They're cyborg insects. And so that experiment actually explains what the Gnostics described and what they saw, because they had clairvoyant vision and they had powers to investigate the paranormal.
It says in the Gnostic text that they cannot create anything original, but they're masters to do copies and simulation. So it says that, I think you quote the Gnostic original text, the preference for simulation over reality is the primary innate risk of deviation for the human species. And one of the most important messages from the Gnostics is that the struggle against the archons begin within our own minds. And I think that's the most difficult thing for people to wrap their mind around, that how can these alien entities influence our minds?
They influence our minds actually due to a gift we have. But like any gift, it can be misused. And due to the fact that their influence, their intrusion is real, it's a real paranormal intrusion. It's no joke. It's no fantasy. They have been broadcasting into the human mind for hundreds of thousands of years to try to break in and destroy this habitat. You see? But they don't have any intention, really. They're like blind locusts who just go and destroy a field of corn. You see? It's not an intention. It's something that they do because they don't know what else to do. So they rely on simulation. And that word occurs exactly in the Coptic language, Hal, H-A-L, which interestingly is the name of the computer in 2001. Right. Yeah. So what is Hal? It's virtual reality. It's Zuckerberg's Meta. And what they want to do is put us in virtual reality so that we don't know what our real reality is anymore. We don't feel, touch, taste anything real anymore. We are captured entirely in the simulation of the archons. This is the battle. This is a big part of the battle we're facing now.
But is it also true that they can, I mean, as I understand it, you use also sometimes the phrase of Carlos Castaneda, they give us their mind, that actually some thoughts that we think are our own did not originate in our own mind. And I think that's for many people, they have this materialist worldview that this is inside my head, I control everything in here. Explain how that sort of, can you take an example perhaps? Or
Sure. Just think of an advertising, what they used to call it, jingle, an advertising phrase, some stupid meme that they're advertising detergent or chewing gum or a new car, So you hear this, you pick it up on the radio, you pick it up on the internet. And what happens is it goes into your mind, doesn't it? And suddenly you're replaying this meme in your mind, but it didn't originate in your mind. You see? Not everything that happens in the human mind originates there. The test of the archons now is for human beings to develop the discernment to know what operates in their own minds and what doesn't, what has been planted there. And that includes an enormous amount of malware. There's an enormous amount of malware running in the human mind. Religious malware, the malware of the technocrats. And so, Castaneda, I believe, whom I put myself in that lineage, said that the archons, that the flyers that he called them, produce a foreign installation. There is a foreign installation in your mind, and it wants you to think that simulated reality is as good or better than real reality. The word artificial intelligence is deceptive and misleading. There is no such thing. All genuine intelligence is alive. The intelligence of nature, of a leaf growing, of a slug under the earth, of the microbes in a hand of dirt, the intelligence of a cloud, of an elephant, of a 3-year-old child, is all alive. True intelligence is alive. And the archonic cyborg intelligence that the transhumanists are pushing on us is not alive, and it can never be alive. Never be alive due to many factors, but principally because it lacks 2 properties. First, it lacks the property of intention, and the Gnostics warned us. The archons really have no intention. They are a blind parasitical force. So no matter what Elon Musk or anyone says, they're lying to your face. There cannot be an android robot who has an intention of its own. There cannot be a program that gives intention to a robot or a cyborg. Never. It can never happen. And the second factor, attribute or property, which an AI, robot, android can never have, is what's called appetency, which is a fancy word for appetite. And so AI should be called archontic intelligence, not artificial intelligence. And AI is just fine, kept within certain boundaries, managed within certain boundaries. It's just another tool like a hammer or a bicycle. But then there is the AI coming from the archons, you see? And what they do is they take their mindset and they use the human-created AI for their advantage. So they love it.